Testing 1, 2, 3. You gotta turn it on.
Love the sound of that bell. Good morning, everyone. Oh, look at all your happy faces. I'm Karen LeBlanc, and I minister to this congregation as we minister to each other. Welcome this morning. This is our annual poetry service, so this is going to be a different sort of day here. We've been doing this once a month, Feed Your Soul Sunday. So we will be feeding our souls with poetry today. So we will not be going downstairs for coffee and chit-chat. After the service we will, but not for the service itself. We're going to stay here in the sanctuary this time. Please, I have a list of the readers. We will also open it up later on to whoever would like to read afterward. If you're not on the list, we're going to keep it to about 5 minutes, 3 poems or so, depending on the length. We are a beloved community of people here who believe that everyone is worthy of respect, that science is real, that the democratic process is a sacred thing, and that we are all part of an interconnected web, and the light and energy that we put out makes a difference in this world. We are people of purpose here, and if what you hear today resonates with you, then we hope you will become part of our Way Cool family and seekers of this very long dream. Good morning, Lynn. As I said, we will have coffee hour after the service. Next week is our annual budget hearing, which is always wicked fun, so you should come to that. That's after the service. That's my favorite of the year. So I am going to, let's see, first of all, let's light our chalice. You want to light the chalice for us, Yasmin? Oh, we've got some young ladies here. Yasmin, our RE director, will be taking the kids to the Whaling Museum today, which sounds like a lot of fun. I am going to open with a meditation by Nancy Schaffer, who I've read a lot of in this sanctuary. So let us enter into the spirit of prayer and meditation. This is called Because We Spill Not Only Milk. Because we spill not only milk, knocking it over with an elbow when we reach to wipe a small face, but we also spill seed on soil we thought was fertile but isn't, and also spill whole lives and only later see in fading light how much is gone and we hadn't intended it. Because we tear not only cloth, thinking to find a true edge and instead only making a hole, but also tear friendships when we grow and whole mountainsides because we are so many and we want to live right where black oaks lived once very quietly and still. Because we forget not only what we are doing in the kitchen and have to go back to the room we were in before, remember why it was we left, but also forget entire lexicons of joy and how we lost ourselves for hours Yet all that time were clearly found and held, and also forgot the hungry not at our table. Because we weep, not only at jade plants caught in freeze and precious papers left in rain, but also at legs that no longer walk or never did, although from the outside they look like most others. And also weep at words once said as though they might be rearranged, but which, once loose, refuse to return, and we are helpless. Because we are imperfect and love so deeply, we will never have enough days. We need the gift of starting over, beginning again. Just this constant good, this saving hope. Now, before we take the collection, I'm going to have Yasmin Flay Vincent, my friend, and our religious education director, read her poem.
I'm glad I'm going first because mine's silly. Don't forget, I am the education director. I used to enjoy watching Antiques Roadshow because it's on PBS and it's like one of the free stations. And when I was growing up, there was a commercial about butter. It was like Parquet butter. I don't know if any of you remember that one. So this is my poem. I've come to terms, my thoughts are thin. I need a ringside dish to swim. Long yet styly, half cup will do. Oh, my butter dish, I long for you. And that's it.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave the list up here, Rick, and I'm gonna hand this over to Rick Finneran, our resident poetry group leader. Something like, oh, that's right, and we're gonna take the collection right now. Okay, good idea.
So, the first poem I'll read, years ago, I basically reattached a rope to the bell here and got the bell to work. And that in itself was pretty cool. But in ringing that bell, it's given me an opportunity to connect with people in a way that I don't think I would have. A very simple one would have been at the centennial of the end of World War I. I rang the bell at the 11th hour and so forth. At any rate, when I got home and I saw the whole world had rung the bells, I really felt part of humanity. And so this first poem I'm going to read, this was written during the lockdown, the very early months of the pandemic. And Sharon's brother had died, Sharon being a member here. And there wasn't much, there were no wakes, there were no funerals. That's actually how it starts. So somewhere along the line, I said, well, I could probably ring the bell for you at the church and for the family. And Karen was generous enough to open up, and I was able to ring the bell for him. So this poem is about that. And one caveat is at the end of the poem, there's a line where I use the word wait, and then I repeat the word wait, but one being wait as far as like pounds, and one being wait as far as time. So, the feel of the rope. No wakes, no funerals. The feel of death strolls with me. Through the empty sanctuary, up the steps to the bell tower. Alone with a solemn, hovering aura, the bell will swing at noon. Every sway on its housing, an indication of a man's life. The clang of metal against metal, to the family, ritual and closure, echoes in the garden. The feel of the rope in my hands, the weight is not lost on me. I pull at the inevitable hour. The second The second poem I'm going to read was a response poem. And this was written after the inauguration of Biden. And it kind of just sort of, it was basically everything that was sort of going on via news, via my life, but also just looking around New Bedford and thinking about things. And it all sort of started off, it was a snowy night, and I wrote down the first part of this poem probably, I don't know, like within 5 minutes, because my dog wanted to go for a walk. So, oh, and the other thing too is, when I came home, I turned on, there was still college radio, and I turned on the radio, and for whatever reason, it was bebop. So there was all this snow falling, and bebop was just blaring through the radio, so, with my dog jumping around me. All right, so the name of the poem is The New World Backbeat Collective. The chaotic sounds of bebop on the radio, snow falling on the city I love, the ships in the harbor, lights aglow, brace myself against the cold, but I'm feeling it, hearing the bustling dream. America set in rhythms of hope, disjointed and feverish. Palmer Island seems to flicker green in the wintry mist. Where daisies grow in the springs, waves of commotion meet in the American night. In half-lit rooms, we seek dark corners, make love, sense possibilities, out into the daylight of sweat and compromise. On American avenues paved with bricks made without straw, vehicles travel across, a new world backbeat collective. I tap out a sink, declare it democracy, and it is democracy. The old world's collapsing castles of antiquity, ours the Renaissance Xanadu. New Bedford my home, New Bedford the metaphor, where St. Tubman took refuge clutching her pistol. The Acushnet flows into the ensemble. Swing and chime, America, swing and chime. So, recently, and this will be my last poem. Actually, I didn't write this poem. Recently, I had done a talk about building rocking chairs and using poetry and basically making it relevant. So, you take the poems and you are able to put them into real life situations. At any rate, I had been interviewed for this talk, and out of that interview, Everett Hoagland, who's been a member here for years and was the first poet laureate of New Bedford, read the article, and he really liked the article and the concept and the photography. So he wrote a poem on that. So this was really kind, and it's probably, I think it's the first time, well, I'm positive, it's the first time anyone's ever written a poem about me. So,
Can you read a little slower?
yeah, I'm sorry, I know sometimes I start going a little too quick. Any better? All right. I wish you guys had said that to me earlier. All right, so this is Rick's Rockers by Everett Hoagland. First, as it is with poetry, there is an unplanned plan of endeavor, purpose, out of a forest of failings, words, trees of phrase, timbering, cutting down the sawing, planking, planning, crafting, design that comes with curled wood shavings and righted words of carpentry and rewriting. Woodworkers and poets' ways, which by working woods or words, own grains can make and fix an armchair upon two crescent moons and rock it back and forth in mind again and again, to its maker's heartbeats, 2-4 or 4-4 time even, before it is finished, a perfectly dynamic, sturdy poem in which you can sit knees bent and rock-a-bye baby. All your memories, daydreams, and back and forth ways and rhythms of waves, tides, while seated on and in a poem made of wood that both contains you, moves you as you moves it. One of Rick's Rockers, a kind of personal poem for anyone, everyone, made of wood by his mind and hand. Everett Hoagland. So, thank you. So, next up will be Susan Bailey and Pamela Bullitt. That's you. You too.
Sorry, we have a little technical. Susan and I are supposed to be helping each other with different things, so just trying to be organized here. So sometimes I can get through the poems, sometimes I can't. I asked Susan to take my place if I can't get through the poem.
Can you take a second microphone close to your mouth?
We'll take, no, I'll move away.
You'll do what? I'll move away.
I'll,
He's asking you to stay, get closer. Yeah.
and when it's her turn, I'll.
So we can hear you.
This is called COVID on the Equinox Once Again. Written March 2020 and updated April 2020. COVID, just 5 little letters, 1 little word. Yet the world has turned upside down. The TV news tells of shifting realities. Heroes who have saved so many. Patients who fought bravely and won against all odds. Sorry. Whole towns shut down. The Navajo Nation with 1/3 of the population sick. No water and no electricity. And children who make the nurses' face shields on 3D printers. Now, in March 2020, in our neighborhood, no sick people are seen. The able-bodied, young and old, walk the streets and smile at the first day of spring. Our hospitals are full. As I drive over the bridge again across the harbor, the light of sunset touches the boats and the whitecaps, tinged with gold. For a few minutes, heartache seems far away. Then the call comes that we've lost our brother-in-law, Eugenio, in Spain. He died alone, one of the first casualties of his country. At 75, his body had already been punished by decades of working underground, digging tunnels under the Pyrenees. In 2020, he was plagued by diabetes, clots, and heart disease. In March 2020, there were few ventilators to be found in the hospital Tao Li, where many of our families' and friends' lives had been saved for decades. Much later, a nurse let it slip to Eugenio's grown daughter that the few ventilators went to those who had a chance of survival. We hoped his wife would never know. Oh, sorry. The doctors and the nurses, honorable people all, went home at night and wished they were anywhere else but there, wishing never again to play God. One of them called Eugenio's wife, Carmen, and told her, "You and your daughters can see the body." A year later, April 2021, the streets of their Catalan village are full of almond trees in flower, pink and white. The hills are covered with the shiny olive trees, their tiny fruit already visible. In our favorite park, flowers of all colors surround the fountains, but the benches are bare. The cafes are empty, and the area for the kids' soccer is silent and dusty. Fear hangs over the heads of friends of all ages. This is in Spain now. Cousins, nieces, nephews. No vaccines in sight yet, and it's the first day of spring. So there I am.
Okay, my first poem, I wrote this poem using a number of metaphors to explain how a therapist was able to help not only myself, but other patients as well. This poem was written in 2014, shortly before we moved up here, my husband and I. It's called The Arts in Therapy. Listening, painting a canvas with unknown hues, weaving infinite threads together, molding gently, a potter of the mind. Not a star of stage or sky, but formed in tribute. Hark, hear the lovely chorus of the caged birds set free. And my second poem was written recently in March of this year after walking with my husband on one of our favorite walks, Slocum River. Slocum River Walk. River like glass yesterday, quiet beauty. Seagulls practice swooping. Geese form their pattern. The war comes to mind. Another pattern forming. Terror, devastation, and loss. Grief beyond measure.
The joys and sorrows of the past 2 years have been a roller coaster. A loss of a loved one, war, conflict, immense love, of the birth of 4 babies in my immediate family and 2 in my extended family. Our grandson is almost 8 months, and his personality has evolved fast. He is now a communicative and smiley child who pats my face, makes conversation in baby talk, and listens attentively to stories and songs in Spanish and English. The following quartet sums up the time of COVID, January 6th, and the beauty all around us. Glimpses of winter 22, tenderness, birth, loneliness, death, catastrophe, silence, conspiracy, violence. Flash of scarlet, cardinals here, now swoops down and more appear. Many colored birds swirl and dip. Watch me from the frosted lip of the glass. I watch them, and they watch me. Always wonder, do they see? The one who's trapped inside is me. And then I stroll by the Atlantic blues. Find the beauty, frame the shot. Crocus flowers in the snow. For a moment, their beauty stops the pain. Contemplate the violet and yellow once again. Now I breathe deep as snow sparkles by. Slate gray sea, lucky to be alive, and COVID-free in this year of birth and tragedy.
So I'm not a poet, but I'm a poet appreciator, a poetry appreciator. And I chose 3 poems. Hello? Okay. I'm just trying to get organized first, because I just lost my page. Hope you didn't hear that. Doesn't mind, trust me, when I have a little moment, or... I may not read my last one, because I can't find it. So the first poem that I want to read is by Seamus Heaney, who I'm sure you're all, since your poetry, can you hear me? Okay. This is called The Cure of Troy, and I'm reading this because even though it was written upon the Nelson Mandela's release from prison many years ago, but during our lifetime, I feel like it still resonates today with what we are going through in our country and in the rest of the world, and I hope I make it through it. The Cure of Troy. Human beings suffer. They torture one another. They get hurt and get hard. No poem or play or song can fully right a wrong inflicted and endured. The innocent in goals beat on their bars together. A hunger striker's father stands in the graveyard dumb. The police widow in veils faints at the funeral home. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave, but then once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that a further shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. Call miracle self-healing, the utter self-revealing, double take of feeling. If there's a fire on the mountain or a lightning in a storm and God speaks from the sky, that means someone is hearing the outcry and birth cry of new life at its term. It means once in a lifetime, the justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme. And that's Seamus Heaney. And I'm sure you all felt how it resonates today. The other is Claudia Rankine, which was requested by the New York Times Book Review. She was asked to write a poem for our current times. And so she calls this poem Weather. On a scrap of paper in the archive is written, I have forgotten my umbrella. Turns out in a pandemic, everyone, not just the philosopher, is without. We scramble in the drought of information held back by inside traders. Drop by drop, face covering no, social distancing, question mark, 6 feet under for underlying conditions, black, just us, and the blues kneeling on a neck with the full weight of a man in blue. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. In extremis, I can't breathe, gives way to asphyxiation, to giving us up this world, and then Mama called to a call to protest, fire, glass, say their names. White silence equals violence, the violence of again. A militarized police forced tear gassing, bullets ricochet, and civil unrest taking it, burning it down. Whatever contracts keep us social compel us now to disorder the disorder. Peace. We are out to repair the future. There's an umbrella by the door, not for yesterday, but for the weather that's here. I say weather, but I mean a form of governing that deals out death and names it living. I say weather, but I mean in November that won't be held off. This time, nothing, no one forgotten. We are here for the storm that's storming out because what's taken matters. So that was Claudia Rankine. And now I have to find my other poem because it's kind of the closing. this book is organized by...
Bookmark.
I had it, I pulled them out. It's in the beginning, so I'll find it. Yeah, why don't we do that? Why doesn't, how about, I can't read this. Yes, Steve Carmel. And then I can come back up.
Our esteemed board president.
So these three poems are very short. These three poems are very short, and they capture moments in my life. The first is called Squeezes Out a Tear. Caught squeezing out a tear from the gray stone inside. Caught squeezing out a tear. I'm fine, I lied. Caught squeezing out a tear, it trickled down my face, making me feel out of place, diminished to dust. About my feet, the stone inside. I'm fine, I lied. The second one is called The Well of Tears. I found myself in the garden beside the Well of Tears, and it was covered by a mammoth stone. And mightily I lifted that stone up, and it broke asunder. It was shattered, and I was so afraid, caught in the waves of sea, of grief, and I stood there in the garden beneath the light, lost in that mist of darkest night. And you saw me there, and you reached out, and you pulled me to the shore, and set my feet upon my path to my golden door. And this is the last one. It's called Old Water. Be as water across the stones, forever flowing, swift, clear, and laughing. Be the deep within the forest, the tree, soft gray, rooted with leaves a-whispering. Be the hawk above in the sky so blue, sharp-eyed, on wing, and ever soaring. Be yourself, own your facets, diamond sharp, reflecting reflections of you.
Welcome to you who have just joined us. Hi, hi, hi. Hi there. We are having our annual poetry service. There's no music today. It's all poetry. So welcome.
Can you hear me? You hear me now. My name is Bet Lowe, and thank you all for coming on this not so beautiful day to hear poetry. My first poem is called Warrior in the Waiting Room. I don't know if any of you tried to travel during the pandemic, but it was not easy. Flights were canceled, they were rerouted. Anyways, this is an experience we had. So I wrote this last year. Midnight in Minneapolis, delayed flight, Terminal D, Gate 4. A sea of tired travelers, slumped in their seats, everyone's headphones in, quietly curved around their iPhones like fetuses. A warrior in the waiting room, home from deployment with a soldier's pec and biceps, regulation hair and attitude. He's a man who knows how to get the job done. He is drunk. and disgruntled. He is angry, too loud and too close. Is he looking for a connection or spoiling for a fight? Accosts the slouching teen next to me. What are you watching? Think that video game will make you a man, son? I deflect his barrage with a joke, and he demands to know what I write. For just a moment, we talk about the power of words. He has too much energy for the room, sweeps his hand dismissively towards everyone. Bunch of sheep, he declares. We killed for them, he asks with an emphatic snort. And they are not even alive. So many of you had pandemic projects, and one of my pandemic projects is documenting the nature around where I live. And I call this, so I'm writing a book about birds, and I'm dedicating this to my friend Bob Maker, who I have bird watched with many times, and it's called Ode to Timber Doodles. This is a timber doodle. Okay. The woodcock is a funny bird, nocturnal, solitary, and seldom heard, except in spring in a wet spot by a creek. Listen just after dark for a loud nasal bzee. Then squint up into the darkening sky for the woodcock spiraling way up high. Listen as his feathers make a whistling sound, then gasp as he plunges straight to the ground. Except for the sky dancing early each spring, you will seldom see a woodcock on the wing. Mostly he looks like a clump of wet leaves. Cryptic coloration makes him hard to perceive. And if you ever get a chance to gawk, you might glimpse his very funny walk. Forward, then back, then straight ahead, testing the ground with a measured tread. Then suddenly he stops and cocks an ear, for he is hunting one very deep and hard to hear. Quick, he plunges his bill into the soil, and just as fast, watch his head recoil. His pointy bill, long as he is tall, makes one think he might trip and fall. His bill is a special one with a tiny hinge, which he opens when he feels the slightest twinge of the oh-so-sweet and slithery worm beneath his feet, his most especially favorite thing to eat. Okay, the last one is my most personal poem. And for all of you who were bullied as children, sometimes it's good to just stand up and say, I'm still here. So a friend of mine is a massage therapist, and I admit I kind of scoffed when she told me that sometimes working on an especially tied up muscle, she would feel someone's emotion released through her when the muscle was released. So I'd laugh at that, but then this happened. I call it muscle memory. I was the fat kid's sister. He, a target of casual meanness, me, a target of his undigested rage. After an illness, not quite sick but never well, skeptically sent to a naturopath for energy work. Meridians tested, a block was found. You're holding a trauma at perhaps 3. A press, a twist, and a memory tumbles out whole of the day my brother tried to kill me. I was the fat kid's sister, but there were always 3 of us there. Me, my brother, and his burning red rage. Too young to remember, yet terror frozen in my being, I lay on an exam table, far away, Time away, my muscles remembered, and I lived it again. Crystal cold, sunlight, rich smell of leaves, my favorite corduroy pants, inviting mountains of rich brown dirt. Quick and nimble, scramble to the top. I'm king of the hill, I crowed. A snarl, no, you're not. A shove, falling, fingers clawing, clods of dirt, heart thumping, sliding with a rain of pebbles slipping into that pit, cold fingers clutching a friendly root, swinging slowly, smelling root beer. I was not afraid of that deep drop, but I learned that day to fear my brother. I was the fat kid's sister. He gave me his second-hand hate and saw me with tremendous jealousy. In family lore, they were lifting rafters to the roof while we played amongst the lumber and dirt piles. Stay away from that hole by the foundation. But I slid into that hole and was saved by my brother's piercing cries. The puzzle when we were found was always why my brother, on solid ground, was undone, speechlessly sobbing, while I, dangling over that gaping hole, was not. I was the fat kid's sister. He shoved me, and he was stricken by the power of his own terrible rage. Okay, and the next up is
Thanks, Bet. Many years ago, Bet and I both worked at the Lloyd Center in South Dartmouth and led many nature walks, including woodcock walks. This is called The Bearer of Evil Tidings. The bearer of evil tidings, when he was halfway there, remembered that evil tidings are a dangerous thing to bear. So, when he came to the parting, where one road led to the throne and one went off to the mountains and into the wild unknown, he took the one to the mountains. He ran through the Vale of Kashmir. He ran through the rhododendrons till he came to the land of Pamir. And there, in a precipice valley, a girl of his age he met took him home to her bower, or he might be running yet. She taught him her tribe's religion, how ages and ages since a princess en route from China to marry a Persian prince had been found with child, and her army had come to a troubled halt. And though a god was the father and nobody else at fault, still it had seemed best to remain there and neither go on nor back. So they stayed and declared a village there in the land of the yak, and the child that was born of the princess established a royal line, and his mandates were given heed to because he was born divine. And that is why there were people on one Himalayan shelf, and the bearer of evil tidings decided to stay himself. At least he had this in common with the race he chose to adopt. Both of them had their reasons for stopping where they had stopped. And as for his evil tidings, Belshazzar's overthrow, why hurry to tell Belshazzar what soon enough he would know? Robert Frost. I'll do one more. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. O mimsy were the borough groves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the maxim foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through his vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And thou hast slain the jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous stay, calloo, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borough groves, and the mome raths outgrabe.
So I ask Bob Allen Powers every year when we do these services, he always says people should be able to recite poetry, and I agree. Not all the time, because I don't think I have any of my own pieces to my head. But when I do, I have several, of course, in there, and I really wanted to do one that I knew in Spanish. My friend over here, that we had him, I hope you're going to do some reading today, good. I'm just not good enough at Spanish to do it in Spanish, but in Spanish it's called Es Verdad, by Federico Garcia Lorca, one of my very favorite poets of all time, but I will speak it in English. The pain it costs me to love you as I love you. For love of you, the air, it hurts, and my heart and my hat, they hurt me. Who would buy this from me, this ribbon in my hands, white with sadness for making handkerchiefs with? The pain it costs me to love you as I love you. Yeah, that was a nice divorce poem. So every year on my birthday, which just passed on April 12th, I write a poem, and I think this might be my 20th year writing a birthday poem. So I'm going to read at 51, and then I'm going to read at 52, which is what I am new. Oh, gosh. Maybe I'm not going to read at 51, because I guess nope, I did not print it. Okay, I'm going to give you at 52, which is the most recent one. Sometimes these are very short, like a haiku. Sometimes they go on for pages. This is not too long. And they're all titled at whatever the age I am. At 52, there is a distinct duality. Maybe it's the two part. My birthday encompassed equal parts rain and a chill, and then bright sun and an invading warmth, warmer than we've had since the cold. The best gift was a song called in live from Fairhaven that made me all at once pour tears like rain and laugh like there is only light. I am reminded I am loved and it lifts me. There is this feeling I get, though, these days, like something is catching up to me I thought I had already passed. Something that should be in the rear window, yet appears in front of me. Confusing, timey-wimey tomorrows breaking into the present. I see clearly what's coming into being, and it's me, and I can't wait. And I see the past pulling me into why holes that remember every effing second. At 52, I am still finding my place in the continuum. I need a spacesuit, a nice one, well fit with embellishments. And a communicator. I want to explore this place. But time, always time. And time doesn't play by my rules, no matter how old I get. That's at 52. Just a puppy, as my mom would say. This one I just finished. I finished toying around with. I've been toying around with it for since 9/25/21 is when it started. It's called Moving Day for Dylan, my son. My son is finally moving from his cramped little closet to his new digs. And from his new place, you can just see the ocean. More so in winter, even when the trees are bright with life and full of leaves, a sliver of the ocean is still visible. I love that. And such nice neighbors. Rosemary Tierney is close by, former mayor of New Bedford, and her front yard is always very tidy. And the Saunders family is just down this shady lane. Richard, whose sons took Dylan in and treated him with care when I couldn't. His place is just over there in the middle. Their mother, Ann, hasn't moved in yet. But she was the person who was there the night he was born, who explained to me how fragile he was, but that she thought my babies would be okay, with some extra love. And the Downeys are there too, a family intertwined with mine through marriage and Thanksgiving and dinners and stiff drinks. Dr. Downey was there for my birth and for many of my siblings. So strange how these things come around. How small the world is, especially here. Dylan's friend Tiffany is right across the street, and no one knew she would move hastily into this lovely place so soon after he did. Didn't see it coming, but here she is, and have made friends with other mothers whose kids have moved here too. Victoria's mom, who runs her dogs in the neighborhood. Her daughter, Victoria, moved on Dylan's birthday. What a coincidence. We've had some great conversations and did a shot once that she had in a convenient bag in her front seat. And Jeffrey's mom, who I met when she was watering his flowers, and I told her that I would make sure they had water whenever I was around, and that she didn't have to worry. And that made her happy, since she was getting on in years and couldn't come by as often as she would like to. I think one of his neighbors might have been my first grade teacher, but I'm not sure. The last name is the same, but who knows what their first grade teacher's first name was. And right next door, there's a lovely bench with myrtle and daffodils in the spring. And there's a man there who was a great singer, as I am told by his daughter. She said, "He must be so happy that my son is nearby to make music with." Someone dropped off a guitar at his new place. Don't know who. And they just left it for anyone to take, but it's a pretty safe neighborhood, so it's still there. I brought a penny whistle. And knowing Dylan, between that penny whistle and the guitar, he will have a jam session going in no time. His neighbors are cool, though. I don't think it'll be a problem. This is such a beautiful place. I can't help but visit him almost every day. But I still miss him. That's it for me. And next, Eileen Sorrentino.
So I have a very ambivalent relationship with God. On the one hand, I'm not even sure God exists. On the other hand, I'm angry with him a lot of the time because of all the terrible things that happen in this world. And then sometimes I just think, you know, look at this world. God must exist. So I have 3 poems here about God, and then 1 joyous poem so we can forget all that heavy stuff. The first poem is Prayer of an Agnostic. God, if there is a God, thank you for the moon laying a golden stream on the pond outside my front door. And thank you for colors and flowers and birds. Did you, with consciousness and intent, create me with a life and a soul that you watch over? Or did you simply push the first domino in the line and leave us to languish in pain and suffering, all by our own hand? In thousands and thousands of years, let's see, I'm lost here, when we are long gone from this earth, maybe then, maybe God, you'll try again with creatures with bigger hearts and smaller brains. And this is undeniable proof that God exists. Consider the bumblebee, a fuzzy, buzzy thing. She goes about her business armed only with a tiny weapon, and when she dares to use it, she dies. Consider the rose, sparkling with dew in the morning light. Reach out, it's so beautiful in its blooms, and yet armed with thorns that draw blood. Consider the cactus, blossoms protected from iguanas and finches and me, by thorns that pierce deeply and hook in, not easily removed. Consider humans with brains and dreams that make the means of our own destruction. We never stop because of progress and because of whatever can be done will be. What kind of God is this that proves its existence through weapons and death? A laughing God with a sardonic sense of humor and not much in the way of mercy. And then we have an upbeat poem about God, but this isn't mine. This is from Gerard Manley Hopkins. And this actually is my most favorite poem in the world. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed. Why do men then now not wreck his rod? Generations have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge and shares man's smell. The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod. And for all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things, And though the last lights off the black west went, oh, morning on the brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods with warm breast and with, bright wings. So there's God. Now this is a little more personal and lighter. It's called Garden of My Delight. In the acres of my heart, a garden grows. There I savor the charms and risks of growing things. My beloved is a cactus, and I a tiny finch, slipping between the thorns. I stay for cactus blossoms and delight. Peony child, buds full, swelling, not blooming, and not blooming until, one day they gently unfold into mind-numbing glory, blossoms huge, hardy, generous. Narcissus daughter, disingenuous blooms hiding a poisonous root. Or is she an iris, partially open, partially closed, concealing the loving treasure within? Spicy and rich, this daughter, a profusion of chrysanthemums, fireworks of color in my garden. They last, it seems, forever. My sister is Queen Anne's lace, purple heart visible, no need for a garden to grow in. She thrives on the borders, on the edges of things, and her root is life-sustaining. 6 buds wave in the wind. Will this one be strong, that one fragile? Which one needs special care and more nurture? Curious, I wait with wonder and hope. I stroll through the garden of my heart, cherishing first one, then another, filled with the glory of growing things and the little anxiety that always accompanies love.
All poetry should be memorable. You can recite it. Homer, Shakespeare, Moliere. It can also be funny. Moliere and Billy Collins. I can speak loud enough so people can hear. I won't catch the tones as well. But I'm not going to say too much. I love the recitation from Alice in Wonderland and from Frost and others. But if you can't remember it, and there are sections in my books that I can't remember, they need to be improved, because that's what poetry is about. But anyways, give you an example. This is filled with parodies, takeoffs, but it also has a tragic ending. The parodies, country western. I'm only a laborer in the factory of love. I've been working every night until the job is done. My wife, she made a baby, but I have been the one working in the factory of love. There's more to it, but that's enough. Here's on the cover is a dog who is a poet. Susan did this version of our Ugo, a sheepdog, and his verse goes like this. No. Of many words I have no need, like all those human lies say where they've been. With one sniff, I know, the noser knows. And here's, I've done some Maya Angelou parodies. She has a tragic, wonderful story. Her autobiographies are among the best. But her poetry's sort of sophomoric, and I did, you can grind me up like brewer's yeast and chock me full of lies. You can beat me into a lump of dough, and still, like bread, I rise. Does my windiness repulse you, sir? Does my chutzpah surprise? You can beat me like a bolster, and still, like down, I rise. And here's a 17th century parody. I did a specialist in 17th century poetry. Give me a watch when I retire to tell the time I need not know. Give me a camera, now I'm fat, to take the picture I'd rather not. Give me champagne when I'm fired. Give me coffee when I'm tired. And I will give to you an Easter present too. I'll give you perfume to entrance nostrils that are made in France. I'll give you nightgowns to allure the milkman and the carpenter. I'll give you perfume to convert to rival or to pawnbroker, and you will know that I love you to the sky. And it ends after the death of my great friend, who Harold Bloom asked me to send this to his Yale. My friend was a teacher at Yale at 26, and he died stupidly. He was brilliant. He died stupidly at 29, trying to save his daughter in an ice accident. After that is this. Forget the battles of regret half o'er the bay of sorrow. Retune the harp, restring the net for tides that wash tomorrow. We sing a lover and his lass, lost within an echo, that was Echo Lake. While rhymes persist, their double past resounds in verses echo in English in America, who now regard their passing as losing something magical. To know them was a blessing. Thank you.
To add a few words or a picture. Thank you. Coach. Coach. A friend of my family died at age 87, 2008, prompted by reading the obituary and the invitation to leave some remarks. I wrote, how many porches, parlors, and dance floors, so many occasions, meetings, celebrations, those many faces with voices of friends, askings and tellings of daughters and sons, beaches and boats, rides to the schools, our houses, the village, and sunbird times. Blessed were their days in wonderful ways, all that joy alongside this sad, they have gone. And again in the remembrance, somebody in particular associated with this building, I'm telling about Maggie's friend at TriWorks. The Barbara Carnes Comet has come and gone by. Her work remains. She left us her gift in vinyl and tape and disc. The Barbara Carnes Comet has come and gone by. Her gift remains in songs that we know, in story, lessons, and lore. The Barbara Carnes Comet has come and gone by. Her voice remains. Her children walk here. She shined and gave of her heart. The Barbara Carnes Comet has come and gone by with the ice of her wit and dust of applause. Of serious sense, she is a cause. Barbara Carnes Comet has come and has gone. A herald appeared. Performance announced. Folk noble, senior, and friend. Now this, buckle up. Wind thrashed at branches, swiped a glass from the window, I stirred, rolled, opened my eyes on the dark, focused. It was near dawn. I leaned for the radio. Time going crossways. A voice came from France of the past and chance. It was a slow dance. She had a smoky, sad song, burning strong chanson. There was something wrong. She called as she searched. Mimon, Simon, in a street voice, cantatrice. Ici, Mimon, je regrette. I did not know. It has passed. Ici, Mimon, je regrette. She sang to sing a fear away. Why? Why was it hers to decide? Life was falling sideways. It was Paris. It was 1930-something. It was Edith Piaf.
One, two. This is something new. Hello, everybody. I have a couple pieces of mine, which are, I don't know, I wouldn't consider it a poetry, more of a flickers on my mind while I'm having my mood swings. And one short little piece by Shakespeare that I really like. For some reason, I memorized it and it never leaves my mind, which is great. I'll just start with my shorter things. Them ripples, wavy grooves, leaves fall. The mountains high will feed them walk. She raise my face, them sparkle eyes, sky high. Sky high we fly. Dream, shine, walks, pines. My hands in yours, she smiles, divine. So that would be one. Between two floors, my dreams and yours. Them stars, they pockets full of light, looking straight through the hazy air. Never grow old, you hear me say. Too late. Makes you forget, speaks less to say. Okay, this one is just, I don't know, I find it funny. Speechless to say, it's all the same. Look at yourself, always be well. And the piece by Shakespeare, which you might probably know, To Be or Not to Be, I think it's beautiful. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against it, to die, to sleep, no more, and by sleep to say we end. That's it.
Okay, how is this? Can you hear me? All right. All right, how's that? Okay, so this is my favorite poem in the entire world. It's another Robert Frost. My 6th grade teacher read this to the class and had us think about it, and what he said about it has just always stuck with me. So you probably know this one. The Road Not Taken. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. What my 6th grade teacher said he believed about the choice that Frost is talking about is to, I don't know, do something, just like, regular people would, or to go on with the poetry and be a writer. And as a writer, that really resonates with me to this day.
Testing. Okay. I don't know how to say the title of this. I think it's Beannach, Beannacht, Blessing for the New Year. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of lost gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken you, in you, a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the curragh of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life.
Thank you so much to everyone who came to speak today. Thanks, Rick. Oh, and Rick says if anyone would like to ring the bell afterward, you can go and ring the bell with him. Super fun. Thanks for coming today. We appreciate your involvement. That was a lot of fun. It's just afternoon, so come on down and join us for some coffee and then go peruse our thrift store. Thanks, and we'll see you next week, I hope. Take care.